Let's talk about how real estate can ruin marriages. It can ruin marriages. It can ruin relationships with your family, with your friends. It can get bad. That's what we're going to talk about today on the Wholesale Daily Show. We're talking about how real estate can ruin relationships and a little bit of tips on how to avoid that. But first, we'll dive into some of the scenarios on how I've seen good intentioned real estate investors burn their marriage and relationships to the ground like a meteorite that struck something that falls.
Space station.
Yeah, that would screw it. That's a good example.
Explode.
So I'm Dustin.
I'm Corey.
We're the Wholesale Daily Show, bringing you tips and tricks on wholesaling, fixing and flipping, tax liens and deeds, and virtual real estate investing 5 days a week. If you're new to the channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, the like button, leave a comment. Podcasters, thanks for joining us. All right, so this is a very interesting topic that not a lot of people really think about. And I have now been involved in this business for 15 years. And I can tell you from the relationship standpoint of it, you getting into real estate is probably going to rustle some feathers. And that's most people. Most people. Here's why. When you're doing what you're doing, whether it's your job or anything that is bringing in your financial well-being right now, everybody around you has a little ecosystem. And in many cases, you're probably the center of many ecosystems. For example, if you have a wife, then what's she going to think when you start spending maybe $1,000, $2,000, or even $5,000 on a real estate seminar, right? We've all been there. Watching these YouTube is good, but at some point you're probably going to take real estate seminars, which are great to really help you get in the mix. But the financial stress of those things can cause a lot of problems. And a lot of people, you'll either A, have an optimal situation, which isn't most people, where the spouse and your family is completely supportive in you. They believe in you, they encourage you, they push you to go do this, they push you to get out of your comfort zone and to step up. That's optimal. What's going to be more of the case, and here's what qualifies me to talk about this. And since 2009, we've had a real estate book that we've sold on tax lien and deed investing, and thousands of people. Well over 50,000 people have went through our trainings, and we've seen a lot of sad messages come in from people. So not only have I experienced this when I was getting into real estate, but I've also had the experience to be able to watch thousands of people send me messages and ask me questions when their relationship is on fire because of something bad that they've done in real estate investing, whether it's signing up for $50,000 worth of trainings and not doing a single deal, whether it's buying a deal that went sideways and they lost money, whether it's refinancing the house and not telling the spouse about it and then losing that money or spending that money on trainings, whether it's like I've had people call me on the phone in tears because they were just so crushed by kind of somewhat of the mistakes that they've made by not having the support and just really getting in a bad situation. And that's why today's topic, it's a little bit of a punch in the gut, is it's tough, but it's a reality that not many people talk about. Now, I'm not a relationship expert by any means. I'm just simply sharing with you what I've observed over the years for myself and through thousands and thousands of customers who have went through our training programs. And here's what I can tell you. You're going to have to go about this in a couple ways. First off, if you can anticipate that you're going to have a little bit of backlash when you get into this, that's going to be good. Now, at first, they might be a little bit supportive. Maybe that first real estate seminar you take where you take off for a 3-day weekend. But here's where it's going to start to get bad, okay? It's going to start to get bad for you when all of a sudden you spend $5,000 to go to a real estate seminar. You come home, you're fired up. 3-4 months go by. That seminar didn't really work. And then you see the next seminar, like, oh, this one's a little bit different. This one on tax liens and deeds. No. The wholesaling, it's cool. I like it, but it's just not as effective as I want it to be. But this tax lien and deeds stuff, that's where the money is, right? So then you go to another seminar on that, come back, you're fired up. Now you're $10,000 into the hole for seminars and travel. Next thing that happens, 4, 5, 6 months go by, you didn't make it to a tax deed sale. Like they're cool, they're okay, but commercial real estate investing, that's where it's at. Go to another seminar, come back, and I've seen people spend a decade doing this. Decade. I've seen people buy the same course for $2,000-$3,000 twice because they forgot that they bought it. We've had customers of ours buy the same $2,000 program twice because they forgot that they bought it. So this is a vicious loop. And one of the things you can do, first off, pick one. We're obviously recommending wholesaling, which is great. And tax lien and deed investing is a beautiful complement to that because they both work together on an economy of scale and they're just beautifully integrated with each other. So pick one, we're saying tax liens and deeds, but integrate them together and stick with it. And as long as you follow the ratio of like one part knowledge, 2 to 3 parts action, you'll start to make this stuff work. And the challenge that you're going to get from your spouse and from your family, if you can kind of be ahead of the game a little bit and express to them, if you can take a human being and express to them the fears and frustrations that they have in their mind before they have a chance to let it build up into resentment, you're going to be way farther ahead in the game. So if you want to do real estate and you want to take a bit of a seminar for a couple grand and you want to maybe refinance the house to go ahead and get into real estate, you really need to be empathetic about it because what you're doing is, especially if you're in a marriage with a family, you're rocking the entire foundation that everything depends on. And if you screw that up, man, you're going to be in for an emotional hell, which I have seen people go through. Like as sad as this is, like I've had to message people back who are really willing to kill themselves. I don't think I've even told you this, but I've had people who have been contemplating suicide message me and say, you know what, I can't do it anymore. Like I lost all the money. I did a bad deal. Went into this partnership, and it can just go bad in so many ways. Now, you still need to do it, but take a little more of a strategic approach to it. This is where leadership comes into play, where you need to lead them and make them see the potential of where this is. You can't just be like, I'm going to take a real estate seminar and keep it separate. You need to explain to them what the intentions are. And even if they don't want to listen, go ahead and explain to them so that it's logically making sense to them so that they can see how this stuff all adds up, which is very, very key because if they don't have a clue what you're doing, all they know is that you spent $5,000 on a seminar, $2,000 on a flight, you took the savings and you invested it somewhere, then there's going to be huge unease in that situation. And you want to avoid that by educating them, teaching them, keeping them in the loop every single step of the way. And that's really going to help and say, I understand this is going to be scary, but this is my plan. I'm learning on these YouTube videos right now. Plenty of free information on YouTube. You really don't even need to take a seminar, but if you do have a little money on the line, it tends to drastically increase your output because you have a little bit of skin in the game on this. Okay. So that helps. So explain to them I'm going to take this seminar, and then this is my plan. I'm going to start researching property. I'm going to spend some money on marketing, and also do a worst case scenario and say, look, there's a chance this might not work, but I've factored that into the plan. I've factored it in that if I go to this seminar, if I spend this much on money or this much money on marketing and we don't get a deal, then we're maybe going to be out $7,000 to $8,000 all said and done. Now, that said, that is an education that is very, very valuable because the lessons I'm going to learn are key for me to make this work. And here's where you really get them. Throw in the old university analogy that I love to do. Say, look, it's perfectly fine. Like if I wanted to be a doctor, if I do this, be like, if I wanted to be a doctor and I needed to do surgery on you and replace your heart, would you want me to just thumb through a book and then do that surgery? The answer would be no. You would want me to go to school, learn the lessons, work with people who have done it, figure it out, and then go back and practice this stuff effectively. And the beautiful thing, this is where you say, the beautiful thing about real estate investing is it's going to cost probably a little bit of money to learn this sort of stuff, but you take that same doctor or lawyer who performs a surgery who's going to spend $80,000 to $150,000 on just their education alone before they can even practice, and then have to pay off that debt and all that sort of stuff. You say the beautiful thing about real estate is I want to take 1 or 2 years to really get into this. And from there, sure, it's going to cost a little bit of money, but the lessons that I'm going to learn will allow me to make the money a doctor or lawyer could make within a much shorter time frame. Yep. The problem is you get hooked on the seminar wagon, seminar after seminar, and that's no good. So pick a couple sources of your education, 1 part knowledge, 2 to 3 parts action. And that formula is very, very simple enough. When I got into real estate, I was 20, and I had a really good paying job in the oil field. I was making great money. And when I told my family and friends that I was quitting my job in the oil field, I had a ton of backlash. Everybody was saying to me like, oh, just keep your job. At least you always have something to fall back on and all this sort of stuff. My girlfriend at the time would always, when I'd go to a real estate seminar, she would say, oh, you're going to another one of those stupid seminars again, aren't you? So had a lot of this against me. And here's what's funny is when it all came around full circle, they'll say things like, oh, I always believed in you. I always knew you could do it. And then in the back of your head, you're like, oh, why didn't you believe in me when I needed your emotional support the most? And you were just shitting on me all day. I'm over it.
Yeah, no, that sounds
nothing
like
there.
Yeah, no.
But so those are some things that you're in for. Yeah. And same with family members. Like if you're going to borrow money, make sure you have a good game plan. Yeah. Make sure you figure this stuff out. Detail it. Don't just be haphazard. Take the time to explain to them and educate them exactly what they're doing so that they don't just, well, I gave them $50,000, we're in some property. No, you take the time to educate them so that they know where their money is, even if they don't want to listen. Make it clear. I'm going to explain this to you so you get it, so that you're not floundering around and that's just a horrible position to be in. You don't ever want to be there. So anyways, those are some examples on how real estate can ruin marriages and relationships. And it's your responsibility to kind of learn from these lessons and don't go down that road.
That's bad.
So we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Tell us in the comments below what you're going to do today to take action. We would love to hear from you. And podcasters, pop over to the YouTube, check it out, and we'll see you tomorrow.